first thing is that we're gonna make the truffle ganache. So we're gonna start with the 62% TCHO chocolate mosaic. So we're putting it in a double boiler, putting our sea salt, and then our very high percentage butter, unsalted. And then we're just gonna melt it all. I love using a double boiler just because it provides such a gentle heat onto the chocolate, and it melts very, very slow and very evenly. If you don't have this set up at home, you can totally just use a microwave, but use low setting and then use short intervals. So 20, 30-second bursts, and you can kind of mix it in between and then just judge it when it's melted but not hot. And this recipe is actually inspired by Alice Medridge, who is one of my hero and one of my mentor in baking. And she doesn't use cream in her truffles and uses a mixture of egg yolk and water instead. And I love that because it really makes the chocolate shine and gets all the fruity notes out, all the nice kind of acidity, nice floral sweetness. And heavy cream sometimes can just be too rich and too milky, and it kind of covers up the chocolate flavor. So if you have a thermometer, I usually look for 120 and 130 degrees melting point. So heating up a little bit more to 120, evenly melted, and we're there. So I'm just gonna take that off the heat. Second part of this recipe, I'm gonna take 1 egg yolk, put it in a bowl, and about a 1/4 cup of water. And you just whisk it like this until you get a slurry. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it onto the same double boiler, and we're gonna cook this until it's 160. And what it does, the egg yolk actually provides emulsification. So it provides kind of a substance to make sure that your ganache is kind of light and fluffy and creamy without the heavy cream. 50, 60, we are there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a strainer and I'm gonna pour this hot kind of like egg yolk mixture directly on top of the chocolate. And then you just kind of like take your spatula, you mix it in. It's a really forgiving recipe, and the only mistake you can make is just not mixing it enough. And then once the egg is kind of evenly mixed in, I switch to my other balloon whisk, and I just kind of like vigorously mix it. And what you want to end up with is like a very thick chocolate pudding-like consistency, and you can kind of see that happening a little bit. So you have this kind of shiny pudding-like texture, and we're gonna put it in a glass bowl, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge. All right, so we have our chocolate truffle here. It's been sitting in the fridge for around 30, 40 minutes. It's pretty firm. I have a medium-sized scooper here. Make sure you get a good amount of chocolate truffle in there, and then we're just gonna scoop it all out. And if you ever need to scale up your recipe, you can just double or triple the amount of truffles. And what you want to make sure is you use a thermometer so that you get all of your chocolate and all of your tempered egg yolk in the same temperature. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my truffle and I'm just gonna kind of lightly just roll it around, and you have kind of just little nibs of texture all around the truffle. And this recipe that I'm making today is gonna yield me about 9 chocolate truffles.